quickly take you through what we do, but I really want to take some time to focus on the three things that over the last, I would say, 2.5 to 4 years that have really been kind of game-changing moments for me. Three things that I felt like have really pushed my business forward. But to give you a quick background, about 4 years ago, I was working at a media startup in New York. Really always had the idea that I wanted to start my own company, but never really sure what the idea was. And then I came across a quote that said that socks were the #1 most requested clothing item in homeless shelters. It was something that really stood out to me. As you know, I've always donated coats and hats and gloves and shoes, but I never donated socks. So I started to look a little bit more into the issue, and I realized that homeless shelters actually don't accept used socks, so it requires people to go out and buy new socks to donate. Being inspired by a lot of the other give back companies at that time in 2011, Tom's had been in their 4th year of business and was really kind of hitting their stride. Warby Parker had just launched that year and had been a tremendous fan during the beginning. So when I learned that this quote, when I learned that socks was the most requested clothing item, I wanted to kind of see if I could adapt their similar business model to socks. But having zero experience in the manufacturing or apparel business, I really kind of set out to try to figure out the only way to donate a lot of socks would be to sell a lot of socks, and the only way to sell a lot of socks would be to create a really good product. So I spent 2 years on research and development and came up with 7 substantial ways to improve the mass market athletic sock. We've since released a bunch of other styles, so we've had a lot more improvements since then, but the core focus in the beginning was these 7 major improvements. Getting rid of the seamless toe, getting rid of the toe seam at the front of the sock so you don't have that annoying irritation. A honeycomb arch supports great distribution. They have technology in our calf socks so they don't slip down, and the list goes on and on. So we launched the business in August of 2013 on Indiegogo, the crowdfunding site. We ended up raising just under $150,000 in our 30-day campaign, which back then seemed like a lot. Today people are raising like $30 million in crowdfunding, and it's not that crazy. But we still today remain the #1 most funded apparel brand on Indiegogo, which is an accomplishment we're incredibly proud of. After launching, we really kind of wanted to take our proof of concept and see if once we delivered the product, do people come back and rebuy? Do they tell their friends about it without having to spend a ton of money on marketing and really engage them? We ended up closing out 2013, which was only about 4 months, just under $300,000 in sales. Went into 2014, decided to raise a friends and family round in the beginning of the year, which turned into a more formal seed round. We ended up closing about $1 million in September of 2014. Meanwhile, we've been casted. Shark Tank reached out to us from seeing us on Indiegogo, casted us. We filmed over the summer, and they ended up airing our episode at the end of September of 2014. We ended up closing out 2014 at just under $2 million in sales. Last year we did about $4.6 million, and this year we're up 89% in Q1, so we're on track to do about $8 to $10 million this year. But without getting into too much details about the actual business, I'd like to share the 3 things that I felt like were the most important lessons learned. The first one was focus. When you're an early entrepreneur, and these 3 things I think speak both well to the entrepreneurial community as well as the investor community as things to look for in your entrepreneurs. So focus was one of the things. As a kid that grew up with ADD, it's kind of ironic that I'm sharing that focus should be your, one of your key competencies. But when you're early on, the world is your oyster. You can go in so many different directions because you don't really have much traction in any one area. And once you start to get a little bit of traction, you're like, oh wow, this is working, so maybe this can work as well. And I think the thing that, specifically from a product standpoint, whether it's an app or a software service or socks or anything, I started to realize that all the brands that I respect, and the biggest brands really in the world, the Nikes, the Apples, the Under Armours, the Lululemon, even Procter & Gamble, all started with one product, and they were really, really, really good at it. They stayed focused on that one product until they gained enough traction and enough customer loyalty and brand awareness that they earned the right to expand into other products. So I'd say first thing is focus on one product and make sure that you do it incredibly well. The second thing is messaging. I can't tell you how many times I meet other entrepreneurs. They go on and on and on about what they do. I walk away, and then I'm like, I have no idea what they do. So one of the things that we felt, and one of the things that we did, was we spent about 6 months prior to even launching, really honing in what was our brand story and messaging going to be. What was our 10-second soundbite, our 30-second soundbite, and our 3-minute soundbite going to be. And that really allowed us, once we refined that, and we started telling that story over and over and over again, the same exact way every single time, we found that people that we were talking to, our customers, our partners, unprovoked, would mimic exactly the same words that we showed them. I mean, we say, socks are the #1 most requested clothing item at homeless shelters. That's why for every pair purchased, we donate a pair. I mean, it's pretty simple. Then on the last part, I would say, is also focus on just kind of like 3 KPIs. Figure out what are the 3 biggest performance drivers for your business, and then benchmark every opportunity or decision you have against those KPIs. So for us, it's new customers, average order volume, which is like raising our average cart size, and retention rate. So when we look at opportunities to sponsor the Oscars, we're like, well, how many new customers does it get us? Does it really raise our average order volume? And does it get us repeat customers? It may get us some new customers, but on the other 2, it doesn't really check the box. So for now, that's something that we would put in, kind of the back seat. Whereas when we look at new product releases helps us attract new customers, it helps us raise our average order volume, and it helps give product to customers that we currently have. So it checks all 3 boxes, surefire way to focus on developing new product. The next one is know what you're not good at. I was recently introduced to a really excellent analogy that, I don't have the graphic for it, but it's pretty simple. So basically, we were always raised that in school, if you're the parent of a child, or if you're a child, and you get an A+ in math, a B in English, a B in social studies, but a D in French, everybody always freaks out and says, focus on French. We got to fix French. The weirdest thing about that is you might be diverting attention away from a potential math genius, to help drive a lot of energy and resources into something that person's not innately good at. And the nice thing is when you're an entrepreneur, you have, hopefully you can get to the point where you have resources where you can start to hire people. But I think the greatest thing that we learned early on was being incredibly honest about ourselves, about what we know we're really good at, and then helping to find either partners or advisors or employees who can help supplement these other aspects that we know we're not really good at. We run a very data-intensive online business, and we have no experience in data. So we went out and we sought out one of the best, most accomplished employees in this space. She cost us a lot of money, but the returns that she's generated for us has been tremendous. And I also know that when you hire experts, you are able to bring that person in and then not have to question what they're doing. If they're really good at it, they should be able to run and hit the ground running immediately. And then you're never worrying about, oh, is this person good? Because then you don't have to also spend a lot of time trying to learn something that you're not innately good at. I'm not a numbers guy, so trying to figure out and sift through data and run spreadsheets analysis, it would, my business would be, we would be gone at this point. Then I would also say the last thing, and this is a great quote. I think it's on like a Bank of New York ad or something like that. If you ever walk through the subways in New York, they've got them all over the place. But this really speaks to culture, right? And leadership, and what are the things that you stand for. There's a really great talk on TED. I'm not going to be able to do it any justice, so I'll just tell you to look it up on your own. It's by a guy named Simon Sinek, and I think it's called The Power of Why. But he basically said that people buy why you do something, not what you do. So, be the person that your job thinks you are. Is really be the business, be the leader that you want to work for. So I took, when we were starting out and thinking about company culture and thinking about the people we were going to hire and thinking about, sick days and vacation time and all the kind of the administrative stuff that you eventually have to kind of come to when you get a team of, 8, 10, 15 people. And I started to think back to, when I was an employee, and think about all the great, mentors and CEOs that I had, as well as all the really terrible ones. And there was an experience one year, I'm dead serious, where there's one year where I had 5 sick days at this place that I work. And I caught the flu, which caught me 3 days, and then I had to get knee surgery, and I was going to be out for a week. And they literally docked me vacation days for being, for not having enough sick days. I was just like, I've been working at this place for 6 years. I busted my ass. I've never not performed. So why on earth would you penalize me going the other way? So I knew that once we started this company, I wanted to stand for everything that I wanted to be. I wanted to look at, basically, put myself always on the other side and look at the employee, or look at our partners, or look at our customers, and deliver them with the experience that I would want if I was in their shoes. So in customer service, we all have those great examples of Nordstrom's and Zappos, where you call up and you have no problems. I wanted to make sure that, without a shadow of a doubt, somebody could call me in a year from now, and if they feel like their socks wore through too quickly, no questions, we'll replace it. So, again, reiterating the fact that, if you just continue to be the person that you would want to work for, we've had 100% retention. Every single employee that works for us has been referred into the company, so we've spent no money on headhunting or hiring. And it's just a true testament to the fact that, look, perfect example, one of our employees the other day, he's going through, a breakup. And she's not going to be focused sitting at her desk trying to type away, crying, while the rest of everybody else is being joyous in the office. That's not a cover. Life happens. So you've got to understand that and really empower your employees to, work in an environment that they want to work in. So I think I'm up for time. So. You have 2 minutes or no? I think I'm done anyway.
Hey, I'm Kate, co-founder and CEO of Lately, the first self-service SaaS platform for comprehensive marketing management. So, I own a marketing agency, and 6 years ago, I was managing a $4.5 million Walmart campaign. And the best tool I could find to organize all the marketing for it was a painstakingly comprehensive Google Docs spreadsheet. So team members, budgets, files, calendars, analytics, tasks, social and traditional media, everything I could get my hands on, manually pulled together in a spreadsheet. And they loved it, because it got us 130% ROI. And so they rolled my spreadsheet out to all their campaign managers, who still use it. Even crazier, all my clients, whether Walmart, a small nonprofit, a startup, medium-sized business, they all had the same problems. Everyone and everything all over the place, and their marketing was a giant mess. And then a few months back, I got the best email ever from HubSpot, recommending 9 spreadsheets to manage marketing. So one for calendars, one for budgets. Because A, comprehensive marketing management is not what HubSpot does, and B, the best solution they can find is the best solution I can find. And it's awful. In fact, marketers waste $83 billion each year specifically due to disorganization. Because we're spending 77% of our time just trying to organize the mess instead of actually marketing. Until now. Lately is the first self-service SaaS platform that unifies marketing tools, processes, and people. Like what CRM does for sales. That's what we do for marketing. Everything marketers need organized in one central location, so we can plan, execute, and track campaigns together from a single platform. So no spreadsheets, and no more time wasted on campaign setup and tracking, because we automate that. No more time wasted trying to get team members all on the same page. With Lately, everyone and everything is in sync and up to date. And no more time wasted wrestling with numerous complicated tools. Lately has what marketers need, and it's easy to use. And with all that time saved and the pieces finally united, marketers save companies 45% on budgets, launch campaigns 50% faster, and make companies 77% more money. Enterprise competitors start at $20,000 to $200,000 per seat per year, have zero self-service, and are crazy complicated. Lately starts at $50 a month, and it's specifically designed for the 97% of that $83 billion vacuum that these guys flat out ignore. So, who's cowboy enough to tackle this enormous opportunity? These are my boots that I always wear. We are. Jason's a world-class designer, clients like Bank of America and Target. Steve's a serial entrepreneur of several venture-backed companies, an investor and former CTO. Anthony is a tech powerhouse, clients like Chase, Citibank, RBS. And Brian's got a background in computer science and economics and founded a venture-backed company in college. And yes, they call me Caitlin. I spent a dozen years in radio, most recently at XM, broadcasting to 20 million listeners a day. So I've written and produced hundreds and hundreds of commercials. Then I started a marketing agency, clients like Walmart, United Way Worldwide, and everything in between, all the way down to mom and pops. All of them use my spreadsheets. Gotta take a water break. It's dry in here. We've got 30 paying subscribers and a wait list of 300 others, and I'm going to ask for some applause because it's pretty awesome. Come on. Thank you. And they run the gamut from seasoned marketers to those just starting out, all across micro, small, medium, and large companies. Exactly the customers I've been validating for 8 years at my agency and my spreadsheets. Exactly the customers flat out ignored by enterprise competitors, and exactly the customers in this $83 billion vacuum. Because they all have the same problems. Way too many marketing tools, a widespread lack of technical skills to even use those tools, and an overwhelming lack of basic marketing skills. 56% don't know what they're doing as marketers. But all of them understand the value of collaborating and communicating in one place. It's just that they can't. So just like Dropbox and Slack, Lately's customers are individuals across micro, small, medium, and large companies. It's a horizontal market, right? Exactly like my agency customers. And the feedback has been amazing. So this is one of my favorites. It comes from Tina over at Inkhouse PR. Her clients are GE and Converse and others. And she said, "Oh my God, we spend 8 hours per week per client manually pulling this information together, and Lately does it automatically. Finally." But the number one thing everyone says is hurry up. Because if you go to any business right now and ask them how they manage their books, it's likely they'll say QuickBooks. Ask them how they manage their sales, it's Salesforce. Ask them how they manage their marketing, and it's nothing. Or at best, it's endless spreadsheets smashed together with a bunch of point solutions that only do part of the job. Because Lately is the missing piece. And not only will we make every company in your portfolio more successful, this opportunity is so big that the risk right now is minimal. Thank you.
Panelists, you have the opportunity to ask some questions of Kate. Yeah, go ahead.
That's one.
Okay, I have a question. There was no slide about financials or projections or scalability. Can you address that?
Sure. So we've actually learned from experience to not show financials to our investors because different investors want to see different kinds of financials. So we have both organic financials and venture financials. And we've learned that if we show the wrong person the wrong slide, they walk.
You had mentioned the analogy of Salesforce. You know, Salesforce tends to stay in the small and medium-sized market. Once you get bigger, there are obviously other applications. But you talked about going small, medium-sized. Are you trying to say that your company is one size fits all, so you can go across any market, whether small, medium, or large, with no issues?
Yep, and we've learned that this is something you guys don't want to hear, but it's the truth. It's exactly the customers I've been validating for 8 years at my company. And so the same way Slack and Dropbox have been adopted by all of those different size companies, Lately is agnostic to industry or size.
But could you fill us in a little bit on where your product is right now and what you still need to do on the product, what the roadmap is?
Yeah, great question. So we have become professional fundraisers. That's what happens. And when you become a professional fundraiser, your product timeline moves back and back and back. So we've learned some hard lessons over the last 6 months and had to push things back. Been creative, lots of people taking side work on the team. My guys are so loyal. I can't believe how creative we've been. That said, we're launching in a few weeks live. And the way we're doing it is we're actually doing one bucket is the launches, right? So the starter package comes out first, and then a couple months later, the Pro and the All-Star and the Enterprise. And we're working very closely with our waitlist clients or waitlist customers now to test those products and also the pricing.
And you mentioned you have 30 clients live and 300 on a wait list. Could you just explain the process of, I assume you're holding them on the wait list while the 30 kind of alpha beta test. Could you explain the process for taking those 300 and what your kind of timeline is?
Great question, thank you. Yeah, so one of the reasons we kept those 300 on the wait list is because we didn't deliver on the product as soon as we said we would, because we had to move it back over some timelines. This is the fun part of startup life. But they're still paying us, which is kind of amazing. So the 300, my job is to cherry pick about 125 out of them, slowly induct them, and to make them evangelists. So because I was in radio for 20 years, one thing I know how to do is turn a listener into a fan. So we're going to become real good friends.
In my own medical office, there's not a week that goes by where patients don't come in and complain about how difficult it is to get in touch with someone in my office. On the flip side, I've also, most recently, with my son who saw a doctor for a shoulder injury and my mother who had surgery on her foot and came home, I've experienced the frustration of patients who can't get in touch with their doctors when they need help. It's through these experiences, as both a patient and a doctor, that we created MediSprout as a virtual video communication solution that doctors' offices can quickly and easily sign up for and then offer to their patients as a messaging alternative, where their patients can quickly schedule a video visit with a clinician in their own office. What we're addressing is the patient's difficulty with access and convenience of their own doctors, but at the same time we're addressing doctors' headaches of providing unreimbursed care to patients, as well as losing revenue from open, no-show, and canceled appointments. So the problem really begins with patients. Patients are looking for better medical care, information, and advice. Right now, they're just finding it to be too inconvenient, because when a patient needs help with an issue they need to address quickly, they're met at their doctor's offices with solutions like games of phone tag, or not getting calls back, or being told to wait days or weeks for an appointment where they don't need to come in for attention, they can get something addressed online. So what's happening is patients are increasingly going to alternative methods of medical care, thus the growth of urgent cares, retail clinics, and online doctors. And on the flip side, you have doctors' offices who are just finding that providing good clinical care to their patients is inefficient. Doctors' offices are dealing with real issues, like providing $25,000 to $45,000 a year per doctor of unreimbursed care, as well as a 5 to 30% cancellation or no-show rates for their appointments. So here you have patients who are creating a demand for convenient medical care that's more accessible. And on the other side, you have clinicians who are looking for ways to provide medical care to their patients in a way that's more convenient, but still getting reimbursed. So what we've done is create a video communication solution that reconnects doctors with their patients in a way that's self-sufficient and easy for both of them. Doctors simply sign up for our service, and when their patients have an issue, they can reach out to their own doctors to create a video visit for which the doctor gets paid. It works like this. So a doctor would sign up for our service, in which case we would create the Start Visit button on their website or patient portal, and we would also provide them with the marketing material that makes their patients aware of this service. So if you're a patient, you can then go to your doctor's website, deploy the Start Visit button, in less than 30 seconds, fill out a quick form with credit card information, and soon thereafter be connected with a video visit with a clinician in your own doctor's office. You don't have to worry about all the back and forth that usually goes on with these issues, and the doctor gets paid. As far as our business model, we've kept it simple like our solution. We charge a flat $3 per visit fee for every time a patient initiates a visit. And with that, we're finding that doctors will want to schedule things like follow-up visits or new patient visits with some of their patients, in which case we charge them a flat $65 per doctor per month subscription fee. But our goal is, over the next 2 years, to rapidly build our doctor-patient community and then monetize that community to leverage other options for revenue growth, such as app and device integration, as well as opportunities to gather data from the very valuable point of care where the doctor and patient are together, where people are having a hard time actually accessing the data that's available during those patient visits. From a competitive standpoint, like the first electronic medical records that came out, and basically like most medical technology, telehealth solutions or video communication solutions for doctors' offices are just cumbersome and they're very expensive. Ours is simple to set up, easy to use, and has no upfront cost. Secondly, other solutions are created for doctors to drive. They're created for doctors to use in their offices. Ours is a direct-to-consumer, or in our case, direct-to-patient model, where patients actually drive the solution. And as anybody who's worked in healthcare knows, medical care is driven by patients. Doctors just respond to their needs. While we're really focused on getting our solution up and running, as I've discussed, we do have a roadmap in place where we look to create a complete virtual care solution. What we're doing is we have plotted out a timeline where we can integrate some of the amazing technology that's coming out today, virtual diagnostic and therapeutic devices and apps that are out there, but they don't have access to a virtual community of doctors and patients. So we start with where medical care starts. We start with the doctor and patient, because until you can get those two people together in a way that's virtual and online, at that point, then the opportunity kicks in to bring so many other amazing solutions that are underutilized today right to the point of care, creating medical care that's not only more efficient, but also more effective. As far as our team, there's 4 of us, myself and my co-founder and our 2 colleagues. All of us have professional accomplishments that stand on their own, but we all have strong backgrounds in healthcare. Myself as a doctor, for almost past 15 years, my co-founder Randy Finley, whose master's in computer science and electrical engineering, he's successfully exited from 2 startups of his own, but he himself is a patient who's had significant spine surgery several times and understands the value of what it means to connect with your own doctor. Michelle Burke is our head of sales, who's a sales lead at Medtronic, who understands what it is to sell into healthcare organizations and medical practices. And Craig Nurek is a successful entrepreneur of his own, who's created products and devices in healthcare, most recently an autistic device with patients who are their own doctors. But what it comes down to is, in this country, every year there's 1 billion medical office visits every year. There's 20 million urgent care visits every year, and there's almost 1 billion patient messages to their doctors yearly. Our goal in 5 years is to have 1 million visits on our website a year. And like everybody has an app for merchandise through Amazon or through travel like Kayak, we believe that everybody should have access to their best resource in medical care, their own doctor, when they need help. And we can be that app. Thank you.
On your business model,
Sure.
you had that you were charging the doctor $65 and that a patient was going to have $3.
Sure.
What you didn't talk about the business model is what's the business model for the doctors? Where do they benefit?
Sure.
In that revenue?
Good point. So when they sign up for our solution, we have an input where they can put a charge in for the patient. So depending on the office, they may want to charge $20, they may want to charge $40. They can charge whatever they want on top of that $3 fee. So they can get that extra revenue.
So it's up to a per doctor?
It's up to a per doctor. When they sign up for a solution, we have about 5 inputs that they put in when they sign up for the service. And one of them is, what fee do you want to charge your patient?
Where is the product right now? Is it live code? How many people are using it?
Sure.
And do they love it?
Sure. We love it. I have many testimonials I could put up, but our customers love it. Right now, we've created the solution that's out in the market where doctors can create scheduled visits with their patients. And in the next 4 to 6 weeks, we will have the solution available for those clients and new clients to enable this patient messaging structure where the patients drive the solution. So we right now have 6 to 7 clients, some national organizations, University of Pennsylvania, which are using it for scheduled purposes for visits. But that was as we were getting the technology up and running, we signed up those customers that were using it.
I'm trying to understand just how you guarantee a doctor's available at the time I want to talk to him.
Sure.
You know, what prevents him or her from being interrupted. I'm just trying to understand.
Sure.
And then the other thing is a completely different question is, are there any implications around malpractice?
Sure. Great, excellent question. So, as far as timing for doctors, the way we are implementing this in medical offices is to schedule these visits during those open time slots that doctors have available. Again, depending on the practice, it can be anywhere from 5 to 30% of patient appointment times they have openings for during their day. And that's the success of ZocDoc, right? It's just plugging in those appointments. And if patient requests a visit, they can be plugged into one of those appointments. It just shows up on the doctor's schedule, and they just click from their schedule, and they have the visit at that particular time. And as far as malpractice goes, many insurance companies have corollaries in their contracts that cover this already. And the history with video visits, and it would fall under the same thing as a phone call. It's covered under most malpractices. There's a very small premium that a physician would have to pay if they wanted to add that to their malpractice coverage.
We all know that we all love to eat. It's a key part of our subsistence and staying healthy and being well. All of us are focused often throughout our days on what we're going to eat, what we're going to put in our bodies, and it's become more and more of a key ingredient in how we feel about ourselves to eat healthy. With all the press and all that's in the world now about what is unhealthy that many of us are consuming and how it's affecting all of us medically as well. The problem for many of us, especially those who are ill-equipped to cook for themselves, those who just are too time-pressed, as many of us are, to prepare our own food, is just how to eat healthy without the time that we have to prepare meals that are healthy for ourselves. Many of us are out in the business community or out working, and we find ourselves, I gotta just eat something. I gotta get some substance, my blood sugar's dropping. I don't feel well, I gotta eat. What do? We resort to fast food. And that's what many of us are doing, both in the professional community and also the elderly themselves. They don't cook anymore, they don't have a way to prepare food for themselves, they don't like the choices that they have, they resort to fast food or even junk food. So the solution is chef-prepared foods that meet all of our choices. And here's where the key thing is. There's plenty of other services that provide ways to get healthy meals. The problem is choice. All of us either have allergies or issues that we think, or likes and dislikes of meals and food that we want. You go to your typical restaurant and they put beans in your rice, or they put broccoli on your plate, or that's the choice, that's all you get is whatever that one option is made. And all of us dislike that, or in many cases won't even eat that meal because it either has an allergic ingredient to it, or it's something that we absolutely dislike. Think bush and not eating broccoli, if you will. So our market is how to solve that, and it's by providing a custom-made meal for under $10 and delivered free throughout the country. Primarily, our market is composed of individuals who are time-pressed, like all of us in this building, those who are senior or elderly, and the people who are looking for comfort foods, in namely the baby boomer market. We also appeal to the millennials and the emerging interest in eating paleo and in eating healthy diet foods. And what we're basically doing, we're poised to change the market through choice. Who are our competitors? Our competitors have been brought about primarily by rising supermarket prices that have basically changed the way we all eat. Up until just a few years ago, supermarkets or eating at home was the primary methodology that people used to feed themselves and to feed their families. But with the rising profits at supermarkets, they changed the economics of how America is now eating. And for the first time in history, people are consuming food more outside of the house than they are inside of the house. Meal companies like Blue Apron, Plated, HelloFresh have sprouted up with, capturing hundreds of millions of dollars of venture capital, betting that hundreds of millions of us are willing to put our money into a kit where we would just save us the effort of going to a supermarket. And still rely on being able to have the time and the freedom to cook for yourself. And they say about half an hour to 45 minutes. What they're totally ignoring, though, is the other 2 meals of the day, breakfast and lunch, because their target markets are focused solely on dinner. They're ignoring that market, and our choice-first approach is what makes us different. My slide doesn't work very well because it's in red and you probably can't read it on the bottom, but we beat every one of them in choice, price, delivery footprint, and the safety of the product that we deliver. I've assembled a fantastic team of individuals with tremendous experience in the food and also with the food area as well as the area of technology and the ability to take this to market and pass it on and find an exit strategy. Currently, our operations are located, to use the vernacular of the golf shot, we're about 2 irons away from here down the road. We have an 11,000 production facility, 22 employees, and we're producing greater than 12,000 meals per month. We have an outstanding facility that's been built from the ground up just for what we're doing. Our revenues are increasing at an astounding rate of 30 to 40% per month over month since we launched in July of this past year, and we're poised just for tremendous growth. Why invest now? Well, basically, we need capital to capture the national market. We're already delivering from the Rockies east, and we're just, as I said, we're growing without any use of any marketing whatsoever, no PR, nothing written about us, just the use of Google AdWords. And key for investors is, here's a time to get into a tremendous opportunity with a really oversized return that you could possibly have. And the success of that is a loyal national database. Our exit strategy is very simple. We plan to either merge or get ourselves acquired by one of the competitors that we were talking about before. And that's my presentation.
Do you know what the market size is for this particular type of product offering like web-based, home-delivered meals?
I've looked into trying to find studies that specifically would try to allocate other, looking even what HelloFresh determined the market. And the numbers are so astounding, I don't like to pitch them because they're too unbelievable. They're hundreds of billions, in terms of capital through a year's period. Over 100 million people that could be served by this kind of product.
No, I don't care what the potential market is. I want to know what the existing market is, if you know the size of the existing market. Because my sense is, since you have this differentiator of choice, that you're going to grow by taking market share from existing competitors more than getting new customers.
Well, the kit meal company alone, and the people who are dissatisfied with the kit meal, is over 100 million a month.
The growth is fabulous. Is that profitable growth? And are you able to scale? Do you have enough, facilities and employees?
I guess we didn't labor on that slide long enough in terms of how we're able to, what our current growth rate is and what we're return. But we're growing at that rate right now. And you can see what we projected with some venture revenue to get us market share. But to answer your question, we're 37% net profit, even with free delivery right now.
Well, let me ask you a different question. What again? So of that growth, do you know how many are return Of scale, capacity, scalability, capacity.
Oh, that's good capacity, 8,000 meals per day.
What
In the
about,
current facility, and if we're turning that kind of money, we'll build more facility.
okay. What about retention and return customers? Do you know of that growth?
I do. It's 85% retention with a lifetime value of a little over $1,400 per customer.
Decided to start Nonnatech shortly after my grandmother suffered a stroke. When she was back home from the hospital and rehab center, we set her up with some home care. Unfortunately, she was abused by one of the home care staff members. This is many, many years ago. She's doing fine at the age of 90 now, still living at home. But she was still in and out of the hospital due to falls and urinary tract infections. But that was a spark in me that thought of going forward with Nonnatech. The senior population is expected to double in less than 13 years from 40 to 80 million people. This is just in the US alone. $400 billion is the value of services and support that's currently spent in the US right now on seniors, and officials estimate that $17 billion is spent on potentially avoidable readmissions. There's 117 million people in the US alone that have one or more chronic health conditions. Nonnatech is the first digital health solution focusing on the early detection of physiological changes by monitoring behaviors in individuals. Our solution creates a pathway to lower level interventions, thus containing costs and also reducing avoidable emergency department visits, hospitalizations, nursing home placements, and overall admissions to higher levels of care. We are a recent New York City Pilot Health Tech winner, where we were approved for a $250,000 budget to go forward with a partnership with a health plan and senior living community. We've been featured on PBS and some other programs. We are also a winner of IEEE, where we won about $120,000 in prizes, and as being the most innovative and exciting IoT healthcare company. Our solution provides filtered real-time data to clinicians, caregivers, and others, allowing for continuous monitoring of falls, wandering, and potential health risks, such as UTIs, sleep apnea, depression, dehydration. Our connected health devices, some ours, some off the shelf, and our predictive analytics allows for the proactive management of disease, leading to a reduction in overall admissions to higher levels of care. Our solution also tracks medication adherence or lack thereof, and activities of daily living, such as sleeping, eating, bathroom, and socialization patterns. So how does this all work? Data is collected from unobtrusive connected sensors, and that data is automatically transferred to clinicians, home care staff, family members, and others. I should say that data is passively collected, meaning no self-reported data. Sensors can be placed in an individual or in a large group setting, and as you can see here, what makes Nonnatech unique, in addition to our software, we've also created some of our own sensors as well. We have a screenshot of our app showing that Linda is doing well, as indicated by the green circle in her daily activity feed. If that circle was red, that would mean that there's a high probability for an emergency event. If it was orange, it will let the clinician or caregiver know that they need to look into the situation further before it does escalate. Excuse me. As Jeff mentioned, we are patent pending. We actually received an official notice of allowance from the patent office that we were approved for the patent. No other company has integrated as many unique unobtrusive sensors, providing real-time monitoring and automatic data transfer. Again, no self-reported data. We have data showing over 35% fewer ER visits, 14% fewer days in long-term care, and 7% fewer inpatient admissions in seniors and the chronically ill. We're showing savings of over $500 per patient per month and a 5x ROI. In addition, our platform is device agnostic, so off-the-shelf devices work on our platform, such as Z-Wave, Zigbee, and Bluetooth devices as well. There are some players competing in our space. However, they do not utilize predictive analytics. They require self-reported data, and they have not shown, such as Nonnatech, in reducing admissions to higher levels of care. We have a great team. Myself, I have experience in running several senior care businesses, from home care to senior housing, with some family members as well. I've been a part of one other startup. Our CTO has started 5 other companies, successfully exited from one of them for over $30 million. And our Chief Clinical Officer, over 30 years of clinical care experience, has ran large healthcare organizations as well. We currently charge $89 per user per month, and that reduces to $59 per user per month after 12 months. That includes access to our software and also 4 sensors. Additional sensors can be purchased for a one-time fee ranging from $39 to $99. For an additional $30 per month, you have access to use of an off-site call center that we partnered with as well, that they give that triage and filter all the incoming data for partners that would like that. These are our partners in our pipeline. We have revenue. Some of our, I should mention IBM Watson. We have one of the few remote patient monitoring solutions, I think the only one, that they decided to go forward with a strategic partnership. We're currently in stage 2 of that process. Stage 3 includes commercialization and a possible investment as well. We project revenue over the next 12 months of $1.5 million, and within 3 years of over $21 million. These are some of our exit strategies. We've actually already been offered to buy out the entire company by a health plan that we pitched to not too long ago. They include healthcare payers and providers such as Aetna, United Health, service providers such as Verizon. We actually have a partnership with them, Honeywell, GE, and large companies competing in the IoT space such as Google and Apple. And that is my time. Thank you very much.
You say there's a $500 savings per patient per month. Savings to?
Savings to the actual, so for example, managed care organization, actually ranging $500 up to $900 depending on the model. So managed.
You talked about predictive analytics, right, which is a key to this. So how accurate is it? Because what happens if someone has a red and it really should be orange? Because I noticed it could be by the bed. How do you analyze that and make sure that it's absolutely accurate and you're assuming the right color for the situation?
Even though it's one question, there's actually a couple different questions in there. Predictive analytics and how do we know that we have the right color? Well, the rule is, so we have rules-based algorithms that enable notifications not only when events occur, but also when certain threshold levels have been reached as well. So it's actually the clinicians or the caregivers that create those rules and kind of colors, very simple colors that are attached to those rules as well. So if you know that someone is exiting at their bed, their normal routine in the middle of the night is once within 8 hours. But if they're getting up out of bed 2 to 3 times, then their user status increases to an orange. But if they're getting up 3 or 4, it increases to a red. That's just a very simple solution, a simple example. But there's a lot more that if a clinician wants to, if they're taking care of a managed care organization, monitoring someone in their home. So you want to monitor them also at nighttime and how their routines are during the day as well.
So you said, I didn't realize it was B2B. Why not B2C?
So B2B, B2C is just at our stage right now. It's very, very time consuming. It requires a lot of resources. However, in our partnerships with home care companies, health plans, when there is some kind of emergency event, usually family members speak to social workers, geriatricians, experts in the field. And it's at that point in our partnerships with rehab centers and geriatricians or health plans where they're already working with one of our potential customers or customers. So that we've experienced are the best way of really getting those family caregivers as well, because they're usually not just using our technology, but also working with one of our partners already, or in the process of working.
But does it require any sort of agreement or approval of the patient, if you will, and is it covered by insurance in any way?
Sure. So we do, if we're partnering with a health plan or senior housing, it's the responsibility of the health plan of our B2B partners that they're introducing any kind of technology or services the resident or member has agreed to use, whether it's staff, services from the staff or technologies. Different when it's to the direct to consumer, we do have some of those as well, and then we do require that they at least show us that they're the guardian of the, they have power of attorney, correct. And then the last question.
Insurance coverage.
Not right now, but we, as the gentleman mentioned before, actually, we actually worked on a project with the White House Innovation Fellows and NIST a couple of years ago, where they were looking at, we're actually the only company I think that they looked at in our space, but we partnered with a public and private partnership as well. They're looking at technologies, and they are looking towards reimbursement, but we think that we priced it out right now, and we're able to keep going, especially, we would still focus on B2B for the next several years.
How many beds are you live in?
So we have, so our partnerships with, we have a health plan, senior living community, CCRC hospital. Total number of patients, residents, members are at 300 right now, a little under 300 right now, total users between those partnerships. But that's ramping up, for example, a partnership with some of the organizations that we had within the next 6 to 12 months. We projected about 1,500 residents and members.
All right, so we have a runner-up and a winner. So runner-up was Kate for lately. Well done, Kate. And a winner of this coveted prize. I mean, really, you get advice from us, from the panels. You get the opportunity to present to the Westchester Angels. I mean, this is really big stuff. Goes to Gary German from Nonnatech.